Tonight, breaking news. Interpretations of the Second Amendment come under scrutiny as a radical religious man harasses students on the campus of Indiana University.
If you have sex outside of marriage and God be cool with them, but God's not cool with them. Well, that's why your God is not real.
My God's the Christian God. Who the hell is your God? Do you even
The God of the Bible that says homosexuality is sin. That says abortion is sin.
The unidentified man, a member of the Campus Ministry USA, is seen here shouting at Indiana University students as they walk to class. The organization frequently visits college campuses nationwide to spread their radical religious message, often verbally abusing students and passers-by.
The Bible says be fruitful and multiply.
Listen here as he conveys his message about rape and abortion.
That's okay. Like I said, there's good possibilities. A lot of good rape babies that grew up and did wonderful things. So if you're a good mother, yes. You don't want to be a murderer.
A lot of good rape babies. They don't want children. They probably weren't ready for children at the time.
It's called adoption.
Abortion isn't murder.
But two wrongs don't make a right, and that's the thing.
The schools that the group frequents, including IU, are unable to take action due to the fact that they preach in free speech areas. However, many students feel as if these demonstrations exceed what is protected by the Second Amendment and fall under the category of hate speech. These demonstrations have brought up important questions about freedom of speech, particularly at Indiana. We recently interviewed a campus residential assistant who helped us better understand the situation.
This is Caro Oates, the RA for Smith 1 and ground floors in Collins Living Learning Center. She frequents many rallies around campus having to do with political and social issues. Do you think that IU offers freedom of speech to all its students?
Yes. Yeah.
Why?
I think it creates a space where students feel like they're comfortable enough to say what's on their mind in a lot of situations.
Do you feel as if groups ever get marginalized due to the freedom of speech rules on campus?
I think yes, but I think that happens everywhere as well, so I don't think it's specific to IU necessarily. But I think, at least for me, there's a difference between hate speech and freedom of speech. So, like, there's a line where you're allowed to say your opinion, but as soon as your opinion becomes literally disparaging to another person is where I have an issue with it. It's kind of like when they tell you if you're in an argument, like, you don't attack the person, you attack the idea. So that's like how I see the difference between like hate speech and like just freedom of speech.
Do you feel that what Campus Ministries USA does and says qualifies as freedom of speech or hateful speech or harmful speech?
For me, I think it qualifies in hurtful speech, just like as like from experience, like walking by and getting called lots of slurs. And like I'm a white woman, so it's not, you know what I'm saying? And they're not, for me it's like there's a difference between trying to convert people to your religion and then like just attacking people for not being part of your religion. So, and I think like Brother Jeb like literally creates a space where people feel uncomfortable walking through that part of campus. Like I know I've gone like minutes out of my way around him to avoid what he's saying. So I think that like just seeing people's reactions like that can create like a really negative space for people on this campus.
There's also chalk written on the grounds around campus. So do you think that that is an effective way for students to express their right to freedom of speech?
I don't often see people using chalking to express ideas. It's generally when I see it's like, hey, there's an event at this time in this location. But I think that chalking is a way that people can use, just like posting on social media is a way for people to use to share their ideas. Again, as long as it's put in a like respectful way, even if you have a different idea, as long as it's done respectfully, I think it's okay.
Do you think that IU ever uses freedom of speech to further marginalized groups? For example, a few years ago, a board put up by a community educator was taken down because of its depiction of a black Santa. But TradU, a white supremacist group, isn't really silenced for their discriminatory speech and actions.
Yeah, so I think just to be honest, from a bureaucracy perspective, those like trad youth and then the Q bulletin boards are just super different because Qs are actually employed by the university, so they're seen as spokespeople for the university. So obviously that would be a PR issue for IU, whereas trad youth is not actually affiliated with the university. They're not a campus. They're not an official organization on campus. So the university actually has very little ability to prevent them from doing things that they want to do. So it's like an interesting situation where how do I say this? Where like the university, I think in theory, wants to do something to create a space where trad youth isn't able to attack students the way that they do, but they just don't have like the jurisdiction in terms of bureaucracy to do that.
Thank you for your time.
Let's see what our panelists have to say over today's pressing issues.
Freedom of speech simply needs to be limited on college campuses because people are saying whatever they want and it becomes a huge distraction to the people learning and the teachers that are trying to teach the students.
Well, but part of college is that you get to be able to express your ideas and you get to branch out and learn new things and see other cultures and other people. And if you don't have the ability to express yourself freely, then you lose all those opportunities.
Right, but at the end of the day, you're here for a degree. And personally, I think that the more focused and environment that there could be is to...
But college isn't just all about a degree. It's also about the experience. The experience is a huge part of college.
That's also true, but I would argue that it's more important because you're paying for your tuition, which is in turn paying for a degree. So that's the reason that you're here, is to learn. And if what people are saying can, like, I don't know, maybe tarnish that and like make it not as focused of an environment by being able to say whatever they want and causing distractions for people trying to learn, that's almost a waste of money in my book.
There are points where freedom of speech can go to an extreme and it is distracting, but there shouldn't be too many limitations on that, because if you pose too many, then it just becomes a very narrow-minded and exclusive environment. Well, as with the sidewalk chalk, I think that it's a great way for students to get their opinions out there. It's a good way to, tell the rest of the campus what events are going on and where and when, and so people can go to an Irish soda bread social and learn about people who also share the same affinity for Irish soda bread.
Well, my question is, where does that stop? I mean, it's so easy to just take a piece of chalk and write whatever you want on the sidewalk, and a lot of times what people write are somewhat controversial and people could definitely disagree or get offended. And it's almost like graffiti because you could just literally write whatever you want. You could literally slander anyone or any group of minorities at any time.
I wouldn't go so far as saying that it's graffiti, because it's just something that it's easily washable. You can put stuff over the chalk very simply. It's not as intense of an offense as graffiti would be, but you can write whatever you want to on the sidewalk, which it can turn into something like hate speech. For example, one time I saw sidewalk chalk and it said "Die racists," and so in that case, it escalated a little too far in my opinion. But I still think that being able to say things is better than restricting your right to say anything at all.
Even when it resorts to bad or worse alternatives?
Not when it resorts to something worse. I don't think that it should ever turn into violence or anything harmful or disrespectful to someone else.
There are many conflicting viewpoints, but most people agree that there should be some sort of limitation to freedom of speech to avoid marginalization of underrepresented groups through hate speech. That's it for tonight's newscast. Thank you for watching. Good night, America. God bless.